Well, in the desperate search for better jobs and an escape from dangerous living situations at home, migrants from Latin America find some hope in the many opportunities that can be found in the United States. The trip to actually get here, however, is incredibly dangerous, especially for the record number of children that are attempting that journey. UNICEF reports that so far this year, nearly 19,000 migrant children traveled through the Darien Gap, 3 times more the number registered over the past 5 years combined. The Darien Gap is a 60-mile stretch that separates Panama and Colombia and is the only land route north of South America for migrants. Laurent de Voulier, Chief of Communications for UNICEF Latin America, joins me now with his insight on the perils these migrants face. Laurent, 2021 recorded the highest ever number of migrant children crossing the Darien jungle toward the United States. What makes this particular area so dangerous?
That's correct, Kara, and thank you for having me. Indeed, our teams on the ground, UNICEF teams on the ground, providing humanitarian assistance in the jungle, in Panama, but also in Colombia, have never seen this before. Such a high increase in the number of children crossing the border. But let's put this into perspective. It's not a walk in a park. It is one of the most dangerous jungles in the world. It's dangerous because of the wildlife, because of the lack of water, because also of the terrain, because of the rivers you have to climb, because of the mountains you have to climb, the rivers you have to cross, but also because of the robbery, the extortion, and all kinds of trafficking taking place there. It's a life-threatening experience for any one of us. But imagine for children, and half of those children crossing the border are below the age of 5. So for them, it is extremely dangerous, and they become extremely subject and vulnerable to violence, abuse, and trafficking.
I can't imagine the decision to actually set out, as you said, a treacherous, thick jungle around, no roads and little foods, bandits, the wild animals. These families, these migrants, you know, what are they running from that they would take such a desperate risk?
Well, most of those families, many of them are coming from Haiti. They left Haiti sometimes 10 years ago. Then they lived and then worked in Latin American countries such as Chile or Brazil. And then came the pandemic. And because of the pandemic, they lost their job from one day to another in places where the lockdowns really shut down the entire industry, buildings, constructions, restaurants and hotels. So they've lost their income and they cannot meet both hands. So after a month, 2 months, 3 months, then eventually they decided that the only option is to migrate up north toward North America. And they travel with their children, going through the jungle, traveling with their children through Colombia. And the difficult part, and one of the biggest concern we have, is that we see an increased number of children during the crossing of the jungle that get separated from their parents, and they arrive in Panama unaccompanied. And that's a big concern for UNICEF. We need to reunify them with their parents. We're talking about over 150 children unaccompanied this year alone.
And, you know, you just mentioned the Haitian migrants. You know, we covered them coming from Haiti. We talked about how they lived through that trek while stuck under that Texas overpass, attempting to enter the U.S., and a lot of them were turned back. So what legal battles do these migrants face once they've survived that treacherous journey and have to turn around?
Well, I was in Haiti 2 weeks ago and providing humanitarian support to some of the families expelled from the U.S., Haitian families. And indeed, it's very problematic because some of those families, the parents are from Haiti, but the children were born in Chile or in Brazil. They don't speak Creole, they don't speak the language of Haiti. So it's going to be very problematic to reintegrate those children in those societies. What is very important as far as UNICEF is concerned is to protect those children and the pregnant woman throughout the different steps of the journey, but also to create conditions for those returning families to stay in Haiti if they want to. But keep in mind that in Haiti, in the southern part of the country that was devastated by the earthquake, 70% of the schools are either damaged or destroyed. So we need to break that cycle of poverty, exclusion, and eventually migration by investing in access to water, access to education with the children.
Laurent, we appreciate your time and we appreciate your passion. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.